Drew McIntyre accepts Goldberg's challenge, Triple H gets back in the ring, and Alexa Bliss shoots a fireball at Randy Orton. Let's get your Monday Night Raw review started right now.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast, the most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
All right, everybody, welcome to the WWE Podcast for this Monday Night Raw review show. And I will say this, everybody, it wasn't a disaster like last week. It was not as cringeworthy. I am very happy to report that this past Monday Night Raw was indeed an improvement. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact we didn't have to deal with legends. And the silliness that comes with that, as we are just shy of 3 weeks until the Royal Rumble. 2 weeks left of television, and then we get the Royal Rumble. So I'm sure creative is starting to hone in and applaud the fact that we don't have as much time as we used to, right? Like, I mean, it was 6 weeks between the last pay-per-view and the Rumble, so I'm sure that creative and Vince and Triple H and all the production team are starting to smile at the fact that we don't have a ton of time left, which means they have less TV to fill. I mean, 3 hours of TV for Raw times 6 weeks, that's a lot of TV to fill. So it seems as if they kind of got back on track this week. Now, that's not without its flaws. I mean, and I'm going to get to those, which are egregious, but I don't feel as inflammatory as last week. That doesn't mean a rant can't happen here and there, but certainly it is a Raw that kind of set the course, or it kind of got back on the path that it should be on into the Royal Rumble season here. So we're going to get to the Raw review and all the details and the good and bad about the show in just a minute. But first, if you haven't joined us, thank you. Thank you to those who have been listening for quite some time. You've certainly made this show what it is, and I appreciate all those that have taken the time to also review us at Apple Podcasts. It does certainly help us out, especially that 5-star rating. Please give us a 5-star rating if you have a few minutes, really a few seconds. I mean, it takes about 10 seconds to do. Please give us that rating. It does help us out. And if you want an ad-free version of the show, Patreon. Search us, the WWE Podcast on Patreon. You get $1. It's all it takes to get the entire library of this show, every episode we've ever done with no ads. Wouldn't that be beautiful? So that's available to you over at Patreon. All right, let's get into your Monday Night Raw review here. And I want to start off with something that happened on the show that had nothing to do with wrestling, had nothing to do with it. And that would be Drew McIntyre's comments about COVID-19. Now, I think at this point in the pandemic, we're coming up on 10 months. I think we've heard the message. All right. I think that as human beings, regardless of where you live in the world, we've all heard the message. I think we've got it by now about how to slow the spread, or at least the perceived methods in which to slow the spread, of which, of course, there's disputing evidence on exactly if lockdowns are good or bad, if masks are good or bad. Certainly, I think the type of mask you wear makes a big difference. Okay, I think the surgical masks that you see people wear aren't effective, and there's studies on that. I'm not anti-mask. It's just you got to have the right mask. Okay, but I don't want to get into that, the politics of it. My point is that we don't need to hear the WWE using Drew McIntyre as a surrogate of sorts to also agree with everything everyone's been saying ever since the start of this pandemic. But I know it's a small thing, but I don't need Drew McIntyre, my champion, our champion, coming out and being a public service addressed corporate stooge, talking about socially distance and wear your masks, take it seriously. Well, no, you know what? I mean, well, duh. Okay? I don't think that this was anything more than a public image move to have your WWE champion say whatever the corporate stooges want the public perception of WWE's stance on COVID to be. It was like, no kidding. Like, no kidding, that's what you're supposed to be doing. All right? The proper mask, again, proper mask is key. The N95 masks specifically. And stay away from people that are especially sick. I mean, no kidding. And that's what I would do even if COVID wasn't a thing and I knew somebody was sick. You stay the hell away from them. I don't know. It rubbed me the complete wrong way. And it was such a corporate move that I was not happy about it. Again, the message isn't the problem. You know, I'm sure that some people are listening to this. Oh, you're a denier. You know, you don't believe in the mask. You're one of those jerks that walks into Walmart and makes a scene because they're not wearing a mask and they're standing up for their freedom. No. I want to be very clear, okay, that is not what I'm advocating for. I think that there is some benefit to these policies. Some of it is very political, okay? If you don't believe that COVID has been politicized, you're just not paying attention. But the fact is, with Drew McIntyre out there, like, what the hell? Why? Couldn't he have just addressed it very quickly in his address to Goldberg instead of a separate message about COVID, which is just echoing everything we've ever heard ever about COVID? I don't know. Maybe is anybody else like just turned off as I am about this? And again, I'm not turned off to Drew McIntyre's character since he made this quick statement. It speaks to the corporate culture of WWE to use Drew McIntyre as a conduit, surrogate, to speak their corporate language and perception on, yeah, we agree. Oh, yeah, no, we agree. Socially distance, take it seriously. Well, come on. I mean, I think at this point we've known somebody or heard of somebody that knows somebody that has died or has gotten seriously ill or is hospitalized. Of course, like, we're taking it seriously. And there are a select few people in this world that don't take it seriously and deny it and don't wear masks and go around and just make a big hoopla about it because they feel their freedom is being infringed upon. Okay, I want to be very clear on that. I'm not taking that stance. It's not what I want to see from my champion on Raw is where I'm getting at. Okay, I'm starting to go in circles, which is what I do. When I feel passionate about something, I find 18 ways to say the same thing. But maybe you guys didn't feel that this was a turn off for you, and if you didn't, fine. I found this to be very corporate speak directly from the chamber of Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon, in particular Stephanie McMahon. It feels like something she would say, and using Drew McIntyre to say those words. So, nonetheless, the other part with that Drew McIntyre had, the other impact he had on Raw, the other segment, the other interview he did, was about Goldberg and accepting his challenge. Well, I don't think there was anybody that didn't believe that Goldberg was going to accept Goldberg's challenge. I think we all knew that it was inevitable. It's kind of like, has anyone ever had a challenger or a champion not accept the challenger? Like, even if it's a heel champion, eventually they're either forced to or they begrudgingly accept. So I don't think there was any doubt about Drew McIntyre accepting Goldberg's challenge. And it was interesting that Drew McIntyre brought up that the same thing I brought up about how he can suddenly read the mind of Drew McIntyre last week, and that he has got nothing but respect for the legends, and that it's really hypocritical of Goldberg to come out and do what he did because that's disrespectful in and of itself to the champion. And it's true. And Goldberg is 20 years older than Drew McIntyre. He's 50-some years. I think he's 55, 56. Okay, I mean, I've ranted on Goldberg many times. I know that WWE is trying to build him up, and the video package they put together of him with all the crowd going crazy, I think a lot of that was embellished. I mean, very embellished. It was certainly heightened to make it feel as if Goldberg's the babyface here with a babyface champion. So it looks like they're trying to do babyface versus babyface. That looks like the way they're going. How are they perceiving Goldberg as a babyface here? And you can't tell me they're not because of the video package they put together. That's a babyface video package. They're not showing him doing anything dastardly or making negative comments or tearing down the fans. It is Goldberg of yesteryear. It's the greatest hits of Goldberg. And they showed him in the best light possible. That tells me they're booking this face versus face. In what world is Goldberg a babyface at this point? It's a shame. There's been many, many times over the last 9-10 months now that I have really wished that the fans have been there or were in person there to truly give WWE a taste of their own medicine, to truly give real feedback to the company for whatever they were doing at the time. Many different things. Because I feel like they would have gotten a much different reception and a true, honest opinion from the fans, rather than their just easily pumped in crowd noise that they are loving, that they can control the narrative and exactly how they want the fans to react. They get to do. They get to play God right now with fans. WWE gets to play God with the fans. And yes, there's social media out there. Absolutely. But there's nothing like that on-air reaction from fans in an arena with thousands of fans booing or cheering for what they love or they hate, and giving WWE an instant reaction to that, and having the world watch versus just Twitter or Instagram or wherever, TikTok, okay? There's a big difference, and I've really missed that over the last 10 months for so many different things that they've done. And this is one that I would put towards the top of the list of bringing Goldberg back. This one, WWE is again, and I've said this throughout the many months, that they are lucking out that they don't have fans there. Because this narrative would be turned in an instant. With fans in an arena hearing Goldberg's music, there would be a collective groan. And WWE, for whatever reason, feels that the fans would be elated to see Goldberg. Perhaps they are also behind the scenes agreeing that this is probably for the best, guys. That we don't have to deal with fans in an arena. We can control the crowd reaction, crowd noise as we wish. Because, I'm sure there would be a subset of fans that wouldn't like it. I think the majority of fans wouldn't like it. And not only that, but when you get to pay-per-views, with ticket prices higher at pay-per-views, this would have been an unmitigated disaster, I think, for a babyface Goldberg. It would essentially have turned him heel. And it would have been beautiful to hear and see with a pay-per-view crowd that with higher ticket prices are typically not necessarily the families. It's more of the ardent fan, the older fan, my generation that would attend something like this. Not all. Certainly there's families at pay-per-views. But it's not like a house show where it's a lot more women and children and families there. Or even a Raw or SmackDown that's certainly a mixed crowd. But it tends to turn and curve a little bit more towards the older male generation of fans at pay-per-views, and women's generation. But that's the demo that pay-per-views tend to grab in an in-person capacity, are the older generation of fans. So it is a shame that we don't get to hear the crowd reaction for Goldberg at Royal Rumble. At the Royal Rumble, I believe Goldberg would have gotten completely demolished in front of the audience and in front of the world in terms of crowd reaction. And don't expect a great match, okay? I don't think anyone does, but if you think that maybe Goldberg can put something together. No. Okay, no. Maybe he'll throw in a punch beyond a clothesline, a jackhammer, and a spear. A suplex or a throw, something, very, very amateur. Something that anybody could do at the NXT level, certainly. NXT trainee level, independent level. Anybody, okay? And I'm not saying that they can match the intensity of Goldberg or that they've got the it factor of Goldberg. And Goldberg has an it factor. But it was it 20 years ago. 20. So, but here's the other thing that's scaring me. I believe, and I'm starting to turn here, that Goldberg could indeed win the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. I am becoming more and more of an advocate of that, or at least a believer. I shouldn't say an advocate because that means that I hope that happens or want it to happen. No, of course I don't. But I'm more of the belief that Goldberg could become WWE Champion at the Royal Rumble. You know why? Number one, they've built up Goldberg. They continue to build up Goldberg week after week here. Video package after video package. It's only been 2 weeks now. But they've also drove the point home that, hey, Goldberg's never won the WWE Championship. That scares the hell out of me. That scares me. Because if Goldberg has not won the WWE Championship, Guess what they do? WWE loves to make history. They love first times. They love all of that. And I could absolutely see Goldberg winning at the Royal Rumble. They're setting the foundation right now. They're laying the groundwork, guys. They're laying the groundwork for Goldberg capturing the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble. You're seeing it in front of your eyes right now. So if you don't believe, no, there's no way. Goldberg, no, he can't. They can't do that. Drew McIntyre's been so good. He's such a great champion, but there's no way. I wouldn't be so sure. I would put it at a 75% chance right now that Goldberg wins the WWE Championship. Think about that. Goldberg as your WWE Champion. Now, if he turns heel, I think that's a little better because at least it aligns with the fans' belief. And Goldberg gets to come in and just turn on the fans too and say, look, a 55-year-old guy can come in and beat your top champion. What does that say about you fans? Cheering for a guy that got beat by his dad. I mean, there's things he could do. But I don't think they're going to go against what they believe and what Vince believes and that what they want Goldberg to be, especially if they have plans for Goldberg at WrestleMania, which clearly they do, to have him face somebody that is a heel. They're not going to turn him heel to face a heel at WrestleMania. So you got to look out a few months here. But guys, and maybe there's some Goldberg fans out there that want to see Drew McIntyre lose to Goldberg. I'm scared. I'll be just downright honest with you. When this thing started, I said, no way. He's just going to beat him. But the way they drove it home this week, and we'll continue to see the next few weeks, the next 2 weeks, what they say on air, what video package they put together, what message maybe Goldberg responds with next week or whatever. Drew McIntyre will be back via his cell phone or whatever. And they're lucky that the COVID happened at the time it did because it gives him 3 weeks to recover, which 2 weeks is typical quarantine. So I think they're in a great spot there. And McIntyre can make his presence known via cell phone. That's fine. But I just wanted to bring that to you guys and not to be the bearer of bad news. And I hope I'm wrong. There's an absolute chance that I am wrong of Goldberg winning the Royal Rumble or winning the championship at the Royal Rumble. There's a serious chance of that. But if I'm a betting man, if this was the go-home show this week, if this was the go-home show to the Royal Rumble, I would be very, very disheartened. I'd be very nervous. So as it stands, I would say Goldberg wins at a 75% chance, but we'll see if things change over the next couple weeks. If they tip the scales, if rumors come out, because I don't know who they would have Goldberg face at WrestleMania. I don't have a clue. Hopefully the answer is nobody. Seriously. Not only do we have a 55-year-old man coming in with doing exactly what he said to McIntyre of, it's about respect. Well, didn't you just disrespect the champion because of your just apparent ability to read his mind of his disrespect that doesn't exist? It's a very hypocritical move to then keep him babyface, to come in and then have him champion. Not only if they have him as champion, but then have matches that are very, very formulaic in spear, jackhammer, clothesline, maybe a punch here and there, and good night the lights in under 3 minutes. Not only that, he doesn't have good matches. It's exactly what it's going to be with just finish, power move, finish. This is scary, guys. Okay, I think I've said enough about that. My God, I'm like 18 minutes into the show here. Okay, moving on from Goldberg and Drew McIntyre's CDC patented, corporately packaged speech about COVID. That is nothing more than a regurgitation of everything we've ever heard from everyone ever on COVID. Okay, moving on. Triple H gets himself involved this past week, and coming out, we don't know what he was originally going to say. He was here on business, he said. We have no idea what that business was, coming out to Open Raw, really in place of McIntyre. And coming out, and I think Triple H was good. I don't have any desire to have him have more matches, but I'll say this: Triple H is much more capable of having a real match than is Goldberg at this stage of the game. No pun intended. But Triple H comes out, and Randy Orton immediately interrupts Triple H, and they start to get at each other, and we have Triple H say that he was just admired what Randy Orton did to the Fiend, lighting him on fire, and that he just went too far with bullying the legends. So let me get this straight. You can attempt murder on WWE television light a man on fire, but it goes too far when you verbally attack a legend. Did I get that right? Is that correct? Maybe I'm missing something, but that's exactly what Triple H said. You can light a man on fire, but gosh darn it, don't you dare insult the legends. Right, got it. Okay. So Triple H was basically bullied or triggered into a match with Randy Orton. Really a fight. It wasn't a match. And we had Triple H resist. And then the line that got Triple H that we've heard before. This is the line we've heard many times before from CM Punk. Who else? Somebody else has said this before. Randy Orton, I think himself, has said this before. Did you leave your balls in your wife's purse? We've heard this many times before. It was a very recycled line. But that was the one that did it. That was the one, that was the one that did it, guys. And it put Triple H over the edge. He hit Randy Orton, who went down. And boy, did Triple H's punches look good. I don't know. Triple H has just always been really good at his punches. And Randy Orton flat backing very well and selling it well. But he got what he wanted. And they ended up having a fight at the end of the night. Keith Lee offers his services, but Triple H refuses. And Triple H comes out to his music, and he's wearing his shirt. Triple H doesn't take off his shirt. It's the first time I believe he's, quote, wrestled in a t-shirt in quite many years, quite some time. And he fights Randy Orton for a few minutes. And I will say this. Many people are speculating, well, why is he wearing a shirt? Well, there's a couple of things that you could cover yourself with here. Number one, it's a street fight, essentially, with no rules. It's actually, you can't even win them. It's not a match. It's just, let's let two guys fight. So Triple H didn't have his gear. You could argue he's not ready. Why would he have his gear? He's a COO now. He's not here to wrestle most of the time. So why would he have his gear? So you could cover it by saying that. I think the real reason was, and absolutely rightfully so, is that Triple H got put on the spot last minute by Vince McMahon. After the COVID results came out, we can't have Drew on TV. Triple H, can you do a quick sub in? Come off the bench, out of the bullpen here, and fill in. And it was a last minute split thing. And Triple H, I'm sure, is not in the shape that he used to be in. Every time he either has to get ready for a match or when he was wrestling full time. And I'm sure that he doesn't want, if his body's not in tip top shape, to have his shirt off. And I'm fine with that. Look, I would do the same damn thing. I wouldn't want people to look at me different or my legacy tainted or the perception of fans that I'm always in amazing shape to change. He's a COO now, guys. I don't expect him to be in game shape unless he's preparing for a match for WrestleMania, which when he does have to do that, he has shown that he can get in amazing shape very quickly. And he is a beast when it comes to focusing and being able to do that, and I give the guy all the credit in the world. So, yeah, it's partly the fact that he didn't have his gear, and the other fact that, hey, I'm not exactly in the shape I used to be in. So let's cool it off here, and let's, not show off something I'm not proud of. It's fine. I have no problem with it. So this fight lasts, I don't know, a few minutes. It seemed like 5 minutes maybe. And Randy Orton ends up cutting his cheek, which I thought was bleeding from his ear after he got thrown into the steps by Triple H. And it was weird because the bleeding stopped after a few minutes, but I think it's because the camera cut. So let me break this down. And let me say this. WWE is really lucky that they are not in front of fans because they wouldn't have been able to do this, along with some other stunts that I'm going to talk about in a minute, had fans been in an arena. So Randy Orton ends up somehow cutting his cheek, cutting his ear. I don't know what it was. I think it was his cheek. And immediately they focus on Triple H, who conveniently finds a sledgehammer under the ring, by the way. So he must have also been psychic, knowing that he had a match tonight and they just keep sledgehammers under the ring just in case. I mean, it's silly. I mean, you could bring that up, right? And why the hell is a sledgehammer under the ring? If Triple H had no idea that he was going to be in a match, which, okay, if he knew he was going to be in a match, where's his gear? And you could go down that rabbit hole, right? But nonetheless, Triple H grabs a sledgehammer. Randy Orton is trying to nurse his blood, which, I will say this, I cannot stand when they avoid the blood on the head or the face. When something happens by accident and the talent are not in serious danger, which, of course, the health and safety of the wrestlers, the performers, is absolute paramount. It's number one. And if it just happens to be kind of a very superficial cut or something that doesn't put them in danger, then let the blood flow, man. Right? But we're in a PG environment. This is one of the big, big downsides of PG. When something happens like that by accident, let it go. I mean, I really wish we could somehow convince WWE and or the relationship they have with USA to allow something like this to go. And they don't. They always have to focus on an angle that would not show the blood. And in this case, they really focused on Triple H, and they kept Randy Orton out of the shot for like a full minute so that he could grab a towel from, I don't know, a cameraman or a ringside person, whoever was there, to hand him I think it was a black towel. He was like wiping his face, It's like, oh, come on. It takes, like, blood immediately draws emotion out of you, doesn't it? It just, it makes things so much better sometimes. Not all the time. I'm not a bloodthirsty animal. But when it happens by accident, like with Becky Lynch, that immediately turned her into a badass superstar. Immediately. Remember that when Nia Jax punched her in the face? I do. When Brock Lesnar got busted open by Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 31 with the heist of the century and Seth Rollins cashing in. That's that WrestleMania. That was awesome. And when it happens by accident, I would say, damn it, man, let it go. And they didn't, and they had to clean it up, and you can't look at him, and Randy had to turn his other side of his non-bruised, battled, scarred face to the hard camera. And I know that's what they're trained to do. I know. It's just, come on. I was like, I wanted to see the blood. It would have made me even more emotionally invested in what's going on, but nope. They got to put the rag there. They got to turn the face. They got to focus on Triple H. I don't know. That's the big downside of PG. Blood once in a while, it's great. It's great once in a while. So we got that. And then, of course, Triple H saw the lights go out as the Fiend's intro started, and he kind of ignored it at first, and it got darker and darker, and Randy Orton and Triple H are just staring at each other awkwardly, which went on, I think, a little too long. But Randy Orton, or Triple H, holding the sledgehammer, with the sledgehammer out of camera frame, suddenly pulls up the sledgehammer and it's on fire. Now see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. With the crowd not there, you get to be able to do these magic tricks and hocus pocus because the fans aren't there. Had the fans been there, of course, you would not have been able to pull that off. So these are the magic tricks that you get to do when no fans are in an arena. And it was just bizarre. Okay, you have why is this like, I don't know, it's weird. But we get, of course, Triple H disappearing. So Triple H has either learned the ability of teleportation, or the Fiend teleported Triple H to an unknown dimension, who knows where, okay, apparently to safety. And then Alexa Bliss shows up with Randy Orton standing in the ring. Alexa Bliss shoots a fireball into Randy Orton's face, and that's how Raw ends, with Randy Orton screaming in pain. Now, let me say this. I love Alexa Bliss. You know, I've said that many times. I still do. I think she's a excellent addition and extension of the Fiend's character. She's just blown it out of the water. I can't say enough good about Alexa Bliss and what she's done. The fireball trick, you guys think I'm probably going to freak out about. I'm not. I actually think it's fine. I've seen the fireball thing a couple of times. I think it was with Kane and Chyna back in 99, 2000. Anybody remember that? They've done the fireball thing a couple of times. And I believe it was Kane who did it both times, if I'm not mistaken. There was another time. But I've seen this done before, and it's fine. I mean, the fireball thing, it makes sense. It makes sense that Alexa Bliss would do this to Randy Orton, given what he did to The Fiend. And what Randy Orton was about to do to Alexa Bliss a few weeks ago, lighting her on fire. So I was fine with it. It does tell you that The Fiend and Randy Orton is center stage now. And that Randy Orton can stop being a bully to the legends and stop calling out, people that he has no business calling out anymore. And Triple H can go away next week. Can we just get back to the regularly scheduled programming and enough with the legends, please? I mean, so hopefully next week, with only 2 weeks left of TV, it's Randy Orton, it's The Fiend, center stage. I don't know if The Fiend will return next week. I would think that a match is set up next week at least, where Alexa Bliss challenges Randy Orton to a match on behalf of the returning Fiend at Rumble. You would think that's the case. I don't know what the stipulation would be. I don't even know how it could happen. I mean, does it get any more extreme than lighting someone on fire? No. The answer is no, so all they can do is go backwards. And I think the building of anticipation to what The Fiend's going to look like at the Royal Rumble will be a nice touch. You know, she could allude to, you know, The Fiend has changed himself. You should see him. He's more beautiful than ever. I mean, she could do something and say some things that would keep fans hooked, keep them interested, keep them wanting to see what The Fiend is going to look like at the Royal Rumble. I would. I know I'm hooked. I want to see it. So that's what probably is the goal of next week, is Randy Orton being set up into a match with The Fiend at the Royal Rumble. So that's what I had to say about that. Now, switching gears into another matter. Riddle versus Bobby Lashley for the United States Championship. Now, I think this is the first time the United States Championship has been defended in like 2 months or more. And they had a Twitter war. And that's, you know, it's fine. It's kind of where things start now in 2021. And so it's fine. And the match was good, except if you're looking for Riddle to excel to that next level, well, this was a clear statement that he's not. And that Riddle is not quite there yet. And that's fine. I don't want Riddle there right now. You guys know I'm not a huge fan of his personality. I think it's super obnoxious. And it's not funny, endearing, or anything else. It's very childish and stoner, man. I don't like it. But his in-ring ability is undeniable. His in-ring ability is second to none. I have nothing wrong and no complaints about his in-ring ability, just as I always complain about New Day or complain about the Street Profits or Miz and Morrison. All of them are good to very good in the ring. I have nothing bad to say about that. So I want to be clear, when I complain about characters, doesn't always mean that I dislike their in-ring ability. But that said, Riddle got beat clean. And yes, Lashley did attack Riddle before the match, which gave him an edge, but it was essentially a clean finish, with Riddle tapping out pretty viciously to the full Nelson lock, the Hurt Lock on Riddle. He tapped out, and then Riddle, who is also kind of bloodied up a little bit, which of course was by accident, ends up calling out MVP as he comes up the ramp and challenges MVP. MVP accepts, and as Riddle was just about to beat MVP with a floating bro, we get a spear by Lashley and he gets beat down again. Now, you know, how am I supposed to, again, character aside, if this guy was a blank slate and I didn't know anything about his character, how am I supposed to get behind a guy that is this big of a fool? He just got beat clean and then gets beat again. Am I supposed to go, wow, man, the tenacity of that guy, the brass stones of this guy? I mean, no, I would say this guy's just a you-know-what, like, dumb blank. He is. I mean, I just have no ability to get behind a character that is just a total fool. There's a better word for PG. A total fool. And I don't know, it just, to me, it didn't do anything for Riddle other than make him look foolish for getting beat down twice. And that's really all I got to say. This looks like it's going to continue, though, because of the extra beating after MVP lost, due to disqualification, of course. Because of Lashley beat him down again, which tells me this is also going to continue. And the Riddle Lashley program will continue maybe all the way to the Royal Rumble. And maybe there's another United States Championship match. Maybe. Even if those two are in the Rumble, they could still have a championship match. We know that in the past, WWE has shown just because you're in a championship match at the Rumble or an otherwise a personal grudge match, that it doesn't exempt you from being in the Rumble. We've seen it happen many times. Okay, so it's been done. Becky Lynch is one. Roman Reigns is another. Okay, it's been done. So, all that being said, we move on here to another matter, and that is Charlotte Flair and Lacey Evans. Charlotte Flair, you know, she said what I was hoping she would say at the beginning of that match with the interview, and I can't remember her name. It wasn't JoJo or it wasn't Kayla Braxton. I forget who it is. I can't remember her name. Her hair is very, very distinct. Her hair makes it look like she's like a 1980s mom, doesn't it? I don't know. Her hair is, it's just, it's weird. It's like a poof back I can't even describe it. Her hair is just bizarre. Nonetheless, the blonde-haired woman. I don't mean to disrespect her. I just don't know her name. I can't remember offhand. So she interviews Charlotte. And Charlotte says exactly what she should. And I was hoping she'd say, which is that, he's family, but I don't know why in 2021 we're still talking about my dad. It's about me. And it should be. Exactly. I was like, thank you. Can we move on from Ric Flair? And then she said he's at home watching me. Great. And I said, great. WWE recognized that this isn't going to go anywhere and that this would make no sense, bringing in a 70-some-year-old man to be in a storyline at all for any reason at all. Especially attached to Charlotte, who should be the focus right now and not diluting it with her father's overshadowing her daughter. And that's unfortunately what's happening here. But I said, great, let's move on. It's Lacey Evans, it's Charlotte. And they had a match, which was fine. I would say that there should be like a PowerPoint presentation on how to take natural selection. I mean, Peyton Royce last week took it terribly. And then this week, Lacey Evans didn't take it much better. I don't know who's at fault here. Natural selection is getting botched left and right. But outside of that, it was fine. I didn't have any problem with this match. It was a technical, well-fought match on both, an effort on both sides. And then Ric Flair blatantly costs Charlotte the match, and then he aligns himself with Lacey Evans, and they cheer off into the backstage area, and Lacey says, "I'll change at the hotel," or something like that. So I don't even know what to do with this. Like, what are we doing with Ric Flair at 70-some years old? He should be like a Legends Raw or a Hall of Fame figure. Or, if he's there just being a wallpaper figure, watching his daughter, win a championship or something. Like, even that, though, I don't want Ric Flair at all anymore associated with Charlotte. Charlotte has carved her own path. She's no longer in the shadow of Ric Flair. That passed long ago. She's forged her own future. And those that think that she's still where she is because of her dad is a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of nonsense. Yes, Ric Flair opened the door for her, certainly. But she's the one that tore it down and then took the ball and ran all the way down the field and back again. So I don't want to hear that, she's only in her position because of Rick. No, she's not. And I don't need the reminder that Ric Flair's her dad. I'm done with it. I don't know what we're doing here. Lacey Evans and Ric Flair, what's the payoff? What are you going to do? Have Ric Flair face Charlotte Flair? Of course not. So what's the payoff? Are we going to watch Lacey Evans and Ric Flair make out? Is that the big finish? What is this? Look, Ric Flair's a legend, but he doesn't belong on Raw anymore. He doesn't belong in Charlotte Flair's business anymore. Charlotte Flair's doing her own thing and doing it very well. Yes, she shouldn't be a babyface, but she's still doing very well on her own and has done very well on her own for a long time. Ric Flair is not the crutch anymore. But WWE, for some reason, still believes that he needs to be there and needs to be involved in a storyline. I don't know. All right, then we get Jackson Ryker versus Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy loses after a roll-up on the tights where it was supposed to be Elias versus Jeff Hardy, and it was just a distraction, very old school finish. Loses to Jackson Ryker, and I said, oh my god, here we go. The losing streak of Jeff Hardy continues. And then, miraculously, his losing streak was snapped after he did face Elias and beat him. So, all of that build-up, whatever much there was, Elias loses to Jeff Hardy. Again, it was probably Jeff Hardy's first win in many, many months. So I'm very shocked on this. Very shocked. But for whatever that win is worth, I don't know what to say. I'm not invested in this. I'm not. So, okay. Keith Lee and Sheamus versus Miz and Morrison. And, we had Sheamus come up to Keith Lee earlier and basically make amends. That, you took Drew McIntyre, my friend, to the limit. And if he respects you, I respect you. Well, he already respected Keith Lee before the match even started. So, what made the difference after? And by the way, if one more time I need to hear that somebody takes somebody else to the limit in every single match ever in the history of matches, I know they're supposed to be putting over talent, but that's not true. I don't need to have it framed as such every time too. I don't need everyone to take everyone to the limit. That's not true. It's just nonsense. Now, Keith Lee, you could argue that is actually a fair point that maybe he did closer to the limit anyway, but I don't. Even Drew, echoed that narrative that, oh, he took me to the absolute limit. Well, did he really? Really? I don't know. Not to quote The Miz, but... So anyway, they put their differences behind them, and they're best of buddies now, which make no sense to begin with. And they take out Miz and Morrison. They beat them, who also had to say correct. At least we didn't get a Miz TV this week. Thank the Lord above. But we did get the fact that, he's Money in the Bank. Can we just get it off Miz, please? Move on and just remove Miz from my television? And I don't want to hear it's real heel heat. It's not. It's not good heel heat. It's channel changing, as I've said. But Keith Lee and Sheamus beats Morrison with a bro kick, and then they celebrate. And then we get no explanation as to why there's a match going on next. And this is what happened on Hulu. Maybe it was different on USA watching it live, where these two ended up facing, or they won. They were celebrating, and the next thing you know, the next time they come back on the air, bam, there's a match going on between them. And I'm like, well, how the hell did this happen? Show me the breakdown. What happened? But they didn't. Maybe it was different on USA. I don't know. But it made no sense. And then we had Keith Lee beat Sheamus in a hard-fought match as expected, and then they hug again. It's like, what is this? What the hell is this? I don't understand this. So, at this point, can anyone turn heel? I don't think so, because every time they beat each other up, they just hug and kiss and make out anyway. I mean, seriously. This is bizarre. This is Bizarro World. Same with Sheamus and Drew, who fought, and then they love each other. Are they all just like brothers, and they fight like brothers, and they love like brothers? Like, what is this? I don't get it. They were just short on matches. So Keith Lee does double duty. Matt Riddle does double duty. Okay. It's just weird. It's weird. It's all about respect. Weird. Xavier Woods versus T-Bar. Okay, so Woods easily put down T-Bar, who won with only slight help from Retribution. Okay, I can't believe we're still talking about Retribution. I mean, I can't. I'm done with it. I'm done with this. I'm done with the silly names. I'm done with the fact that this storyline even happened. I hate the character of Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. I actually dislike Kofi Kingston's character even more than Xavier Woods. But as much as I disdain their characters, the fact that I'm rooting for Xavier Woods in this match says everything you need to know about what I feel about Retribution. That's really saying something. It's sad. It's a sad deal here. AJ Styles versus Drew Gulak. Almost was in his corner, and he got a clean win. And we all know how Drew Gulak is, how good he is. Drew Gulak is a guy that is trying to reinvent himself. He had a nice little run with Daniel Bryan. I wish that wasn't broken up. I think they had true chemistry. Of course, they're on separate brands now. But Drew Gulak is a wrestling purist. Not to take a phrase from Cesaro, but he is. He is a wrestler at heart. He is so good in the ring. And AJ Styles and him could put on an absolute classic if given enough time. But it was good for what it was. And almost stood there being an intimidating presence. And he just caught it a phenomenal forearm and gets the victory. I don't know what more to say about it. So, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Dana Brooke, and Mandy Rose. I think this was to set up the dissension, the disintegration of Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. And the reason is Baszler and Nia didn't have clear communication. They still got the win when Shayna locked in the Karafuda clutch following a blind tag. And then Nia looked at Shayna confused, but still acknowledged the win. So, again, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose continue to take just bump after bump and loss after loss. That's what they've done. And it's about the dissension and the disintegration of these two, which I think are about to explode into just single stars again. And that's fine. I just don't know if anyone's going to be a babyface or a heel, considering both are very good heels. So I'm not sure. I think it's coming, and it's probably coming in a couple of weeks with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler maybe blowing off at the Rumble with them in the Royal Rumble match and face-to-face, and one eliminates the other, and then there's a match at the next pay-per-view, Roadblock or Elimination Chamber, whatever it is, in February. So that's what I thought about Raw, guys. Certainly a step in the right direction from last week, but not without its flaws and just rantful, just inaccuracies and blunders, but certainly a much better Raw. That's not saying much, considering last week was the absolute bottom of the barrel. But I enjoyed it more than I thought I would coming out of last week. And I told you, they couldn't do this twice. You couldn't put up a stinker that bad twice, even if you tried and formulated the show to be that bad. Because when you try to make something so bad, oftentimes it gets to a level of bad that it becomes good. So I'm glad that it was a step in the right direction. And I thank you guys for listening. Of course, you'll be able to catch my mailbag tomorrow night and my wrestling nostalgia. You guys are pummeling me with calls and voicemails and emails. So email me questions if you'd like. realwwepodcast@gmail.com if you have questions, of course, and I will read them on the air and answer them as they come in. So thank you, everybody. Please go give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you love us, and subscribe and tell a friend if you like us as well. So thank you, everybody, and I'll talk to you next time.